Welcome to Focused on Forward. The purpose of this podcast is to focus on recovery from life situations, be it a disease, chronic or acute, perhaps the loss of someone so dear to you in death, or a change of life patterns that has affected you so profoundly that you have no choice but to find your new normal and become focused on moving forward. Each episode is designed to show the positivity that people bring to each and every one of their stories, the successes they've had, ways that they have become so definitively focused on moving forward. We look forward to sharing their stories, and we hope that they inspire you just as much as they have inspired us. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Focused on Forward, the live edition. So I have a great guest back in the virtual green room. I can't wait to bring out C.L.King. You guys are going to love C.L. He's got awesome energy, amazing man, and I've really enjoyed getting to know him over the last little bit. But before we get to C.L. and bring him out, we'll talk about why we wanted to have him on the show. Just a couple quick reminders. So now every Friday, 8 p.m. How about? Let's do that. Every Friday night, 8 p.m., you'll be able to find us here on Focused on Forward, whether you're watching us on Facebook, on the Scene Snobs channel, Focused on Forward's channel, my personal page, Tim Bysiegel. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter at Focused on Forward. And if you're watching us on Twitch or want to watch us on Twitch, it's _podcast_guy. So that way it can accommodate both my podcasts, both Focused on Forward and Funny Science Fiction. Now, as a reminder, we talked about this last week. We have our new sponsor, Vital Signs and Graphics. So I want to say thank you. And part of that is we want to show you a video to show our thanks for the sponsorship that they give us. Here's a quick video from Vital Signs. Since 1982, Vital Signs and Graphics has been helping professionals with all their image, logo, and design needs. Perhaps you're looking for signs and banners, truck and trailer lettering, business cards, brochures, or other image and marketing aids. Vital Signs and Graphics in-house design studio has you covered. From logos to apparel, start to finish, Vital Signs and Graphics has everything you need to look and feel professional. Call Rick at 231-652-3300. He'll get you noticed. All right, that's our video from Vital Signs and Graphics. Thank you for helping us out here with the show. And make sure you guys stop by their Facebook page, Vital Signs in Newaygo, Michigan, and they'll be able to help you out with anything you need, image and graphics wise. So now we're going to bring in our guest, C.L.King. Welcome to the show, CL.
Oh, welcome, man. This is so good to be on your show. And Tim, I'm just, you know how I feel about you, brother. I'm delighted to be here. I'm energized, even though I just ate a big old tub of crab legs. Well, I still got energy today, baby.
There you go. So for those of you at home playing the home version of Focused on Forward, the reason why I wanted to have CL on the show is that we've gotten to know each other over the last couple months, and we've struck up a very nice friendship. It's one of the nice things about podcasting. You get to know some other people in ways that you would never, or for reasons you would never get to know them otherwise. I've been a guest on CL's show, and so tonight we're repaying the favor and having CL here. So CL has a pretty interesting story of some of the things that he's gone through in life. But the thing I love about CL's story is that he has never sat back and said, I'm going to let this define me. He has made definition of his own life and what he's done with that life. And so, CL, I'm really excited for people to hear your story. And so take it away, man. Tell us the story of the King, C.L.King.
The ground one. You know, Tim, let me just first say, I want to thank you for trusting me with your audience. As you know, being a podcaster and a content creator and all that, this is your baby. And so I count it a privilege. I don't think that I have a rite of passage to come on anyone's show. And if I get the privilege to share and bring just a small morsel of value to the show, then it's my high honor. And on top of that, to do it with a friend makes it even more special. And so,
yes, sir.
The if I've been working on crafting this elevator speech to try to tell people 46 years worth of stuff in like 2 minutes, you know what I mean? That your elevator speech to get a deal closed before you get to the bottom.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is that, all of our lives are a tapestry of events, and mine is just, the story that I use my tapestry to try to help and impact people's lives. For 18 years, Tim, that was the span of time that I went through, bouncing around from group homes, multiple foster homes, multiple experiences that are embossed in my mind even to this day. I spent a small period of time, about 6 months on the streets, homeless as an 11-year-old kid. I mean, I've seen everything imaginable that kids shouldn't see relative to molestations, being in the same room with them, being molested myself in the group homes and foster homes. And it was just it was a Harlequin quilt, if you will, when we talk about tapestry, brother. And, my foster mom, when I got to my last foster mom's house, Ruth Plowden, I talk about her. She'll be in my book. Everywhere I go, you'll hear her name. She told me, she said, Chris, you can take all of this. You're a kid from the hood. You had all this trauma happen to you. You can take that and use it as an excuse, or you can use it to change the world. And so I listened to her, Tim. I mean, I really did. She plugged me in and said, listen, I'm not going to do this for you, but I'm going to show you the pathway to get there. I was one of 83 foster kids that Mom Plowden had over 30 years, brother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was. And so when I look at what she told me, I said, man, I'm going to act on this, and I'm going to begin to, and just having someone believe in you, it's like, man, the water, one plants, another waters, and then God gives the increase. And so I began to see things happen in my life living with her that were positive. Even though I was a kid of the system, I got plugged into a church. I started working there, started ministering in the community, traveled over to England by the time I was 18 years old, and ministered to thousands of people and talked to thousands of kids. And this was because someone said, hey, King, I know what you've been through. I know your resume and your pedigree, but I don't want you to use that to be an excuse or a statistic, because all the metrics were stacked against us.
Sure.
Every metrics was stacked against me. No father, no mother, kid of the system, black, the whole nine, the whole list that we'd like to trumpet around. I had it, brother. And, I just believe that my foster mom put that small measure of faith in me to say, hey, look, I want you to believe in yourself. And so from there, brother, it really just turned around, and we saw some dramatic change after I aged out of the system at 18 years old.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that journey and what it took from you and out of you in order to be C.L.King, the person that we see now, not the person who could have been. Because that's not always an easy thing. There's steps that have to be taken in order to make that transition. So she said, or you said rather, that she showed you the pathway. So what was part of that?
Well, here's the deal. I do believe that environment was a part of it. Okay. In other words, I was blessed, even though it looked like a curse to be in 4 different foster homes, 2 group homes, and homeless on the streets. I was blessed in the journey of getting out of the environment that was toxic. And so being in Mom's and Pops Plowden's house, it was a nurturing home. They modeled marriage for us, and they were in their 60s when I went to live with them. And so the pathway that she gave me was, hey, she said, listen, here are the opportunities, but you've got to go after them. She never, I don't recall Mom taking me by the hand down to Church on the North Coast. I don't recall her taking me down to go see the recruiter, nothing. She said, listen, here are the opportunities. Here's the things that you could do in life with the talent that you have, because they recognized that of all things that I could not do, the one thing I could do was talk. And so they cultivated that. But they said, listen, you are going to have to do the work. And this is probably why when I get called to give a keynote speech, Tim, I'm a little more tough than your average, Pinocchio nose, fluff and cream puff guy when I speak before students. because because the truth of the matter is my foster mom says, listen, if you want it, Chris, you're going to have to go after it. You're going to have to go hard. You're going to, because everything's stacked against you. You got every metrics. You're going to have to go harder than even your very competition that would be in the same field and venue as you. And so she told me that. And so that was ingrained in me. I lived with her from 14 to age 18. It was ingrained in me that you just had to go hard. You couldn't make excuses. My foster mom was not a woman big on excuses, even though I legitimately had some. She was not big on that. She said, listen, here's the path, go get it. And so when I started getting it, what she did was she enabled me to continue to go to the next level. Every success that I had, they just continued to build upon that. The ceiling became the floor, and I went higher. And all the way up until I left to the Marine Corps, my foster dad, Pops Plowden, he told me, he said, listen, Chris, you can go in the Marines. I was thinking about going in the Navy. Yeah, I was thinking about taking the easy way out, Tim, and going in the Navy. For all my Navy brethren out there, anchors away. And my foster dad said, listen, no, you want to be the best. You want to look the best. The Marines are the top. We look great. We walk great. It's just all about the pomp and circumstance. So my foster dad said, you can go into the toughest branch and the hardest branch and you can come out. And I believed them, Tim. Now they didn't walk me through they didn't hand walk me. They said, there it is. Go get it. And so when I went in the Marine Corps, brother, here's a group of folks that didn't know me. They didn't know C.L.King had this big old resume, homeless, sexually abused, physically abused, homeless on the streets, and all the other things that went on in my life, a kid of the system for 18 years. All they knew was I was recruit king.
Right.
And guess what? There was no difference in the guy in the bunk next to me or the guy in the bunk on the other side of the room. And so, you know what I said, man, I'm going after it. They gave me no room to have excuses. The only excuse I had was the excuse to succeed every single day. And so here it is. The Marine Corps kind of mirrored and built upon the stuff and the seeds that my foster mom put in me, brother. And so when I got out of the Marine Corps after honorably discharged and began on this journey of helping people, it was like that. Those were the building blocks that got me in my mentality. See, it's more than just that you do good. I make a ton of money. I got everything I want in the world, but it's so much more than that, Tim. It's a mentality, brother, that says, okay, listen, because roadblocks still come.
Oh, sure.
They still come, man. I mean, I was just because I was married with 6 kids and I had all this great stuff going on. Don't think I didn't get my car repossessed when we was early on in our marriage. Twice in the same. I got the same vehicle repossessed twice in the same year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Here's this homeless kid from the streets of Cleveland. What did my foster mom say? No matter the adversity, King, you still can make it. What did the Marine Corps tell me? Get up and quit making excuses and push forward. And so when I got my car repossessed the second time, I went and got an old beater, and we drove around an old beater that could barely drive forward.
But it did. And it got those 6 kids, that white van, I'll never forget it. It got those 6 kids from point A to point B. So my point is, Tim, is that when people are faced with adversity, because that's my niche, brother, I want to talk to people that are going through something, that are having an adversity. Man, there is a pathway forward. And this is why I love your show. Man, I cannot sit back, even though I've had to deal with it. I cannot sit back and say, woe is me. I was a poor kid from the hood. Well, if I stay there, Tim, I'll never get to the fulfillment of what my life's purpose is supposed to be. Right. I agree. So, it's kind of interesting when we think about that what you just talked about there, about being so determined to move forward. But sometimes our mind likes to play tricks on us and like to convince us that no matter how hard we want something, and how hard we want to push for something, that we're not worthy of that something. So what are some ways in your life that you had to retrain your brain, your emotions, to let yourself know that you are worthy of the things that you were doing?
Well, here's what I can say, that I'm married, and I'm not saying this for any other reasons. Maybe I'll get some cool husband points, but I married a woman that embodies forward. we've been married 27 years, Tim. We got 7 children. And I posted the post the other day that people look at all of our successes, but they don't realize that our path over the past 27 years, we got a wake of failure.
Mm-hmm.
We got a wake of shortcomings. Most of it's probably my fault. But my wife has never ever said, "This is it. I'm done. I'm giving up. We can't do this." And it's like she didn't know that this was the message that I heard from Ruth Plowden. She didn't know that this was the message that I heard from the Marine Corps. She didn't know. It's just she went through her own life adversity. So God put me with somebody who understood that calamity and adversity and roadblocks will come. And yeah, there have been times, Tim, where I feel like, man, I've failed so bad. Maybe I am supposed to fall under the metrics that were born to me. Maybe I can't do this, man. But every time, man, I'm just telling you, I give credit where credit is due. Every time my wife has said, you know what, we're going. And so she took the place of Mom Plowden, because, the Bible says when you find a wife, you find a good thing. So she took the place of Mom Plowden, and she has been that voice that says, King, we are not giving up. We're not. It's hard raising 6 kids when I was making $8.07 an hour. $8.07 an hour with 6 kids, brother.
I got a little short of breath just thinking about it.
Like, how does that happen? Who does that in America? And so but I feel like, now this is going to sound crazy to you and maybe sound crazy to your listeners, but I feel like adversity, Tim, is a gift. It's a gift, brother. Struggle is a gift. Because when you come out on the other side of it, brother, you sit back, man, I ain't got no car repossessed no more. The last car I bought a year ago, Tim, had 8 miles on it. I ain't driving no car that goes backwards no more. The adversity was a gift because, man, it helped me to build resiliency. It helped me to say, man, you know what? I didn't understand resiliency when I was getting sexually molested or living out on the streets, eating in soup kitchens. I didn't understand resiliency there. I just knew that wasn't supposed to be my life. But then as I grew up and I still experienced adversity, my foster mom, the Marine Corps, my wife and children, they gave me the mental acumen to say, hey, man, we can still take this adversity and make something good out of it. That's what our message is now, bro.
Excellent. One of the guys I used to work for, I should say, not work with, he was a truly horrible boss. But one of the things that he said that's always kind of stuck with me is that problems aren't problems. Right. Problems are opportunities to learn.
Right. And
that was the one good thing. Because I've always said that I try to find a silver lining in everything in life. There's a reason for something happening. So find the silver lining, find a good thing about it. So he was a truly horrible boss, but B, he said this one thing that always kind of stuck with me. And I went, okay, well, because he would no longer call them problems. I'd say, hey, we're having a problem over here. He goes, no, we're having an opportunity. Let's look at the opportunity that we have to either better ourselves or better our customer or both.
Right.
And I went, okay, well, sure. What at the time, I was young. I was in my early 20s. I'm like, whatever, dude. I don't care. Let's just get this fixed. But looking back on it, I see what he was kind of referring to, and kind of what you're talking about there is the opportunity to build, the opportunity to instill in yourself the confidence, really, that the next time something comes up, that maybe you only had a problem that was this tall. Right. Maybe next time it's this tall, but you knew that you could clear this one. So maybe this one won't be so bad.
I was telling my son that the very same thing. You must have been in the kitchen listening to us this morning, Tim. I knew you were there. I knew you were a spy. But we had this very conversation. He's waiting on the Army to let him know if he's made it into the Army band. Now, the last 2 months of the board that they have, they said, no, his score wasn't good enough. And the man's been playing the drums since he came out his mother's womb. And so we're scratching our head, but that's okay. So we sat down at the table and I told him, I said, listen, if by some chance you don't make the next couple boards, guess what, brother? We're going to pivot and we're going to move to the next thing that we can do to still be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we put a lot of eggs in this basket. We've put a lot of eggs in hoping that, hey man, this is where you're going. This is what you're going to do. You're going to do your dream of playing music in the military. And if that doesn't work, man, it might be heartbreaking, initially. And that is a good point, is that when we're going through our adversity, sometimes we don't sit and say, oh, thank you, God, for giving me all this hell in my life. Like, you know what I'm saying? We don't operate like that. But
Very rarely.
what we have to do sometimes, Tim, is we have to step outside of the adversity and say, okay, let me look at what's going on here. And I'm not going to allow this to destroy me. I told Chris that today, man. This kid is my namesake. I taught him how to play. And I said, man, listen, if this doesn't work, bro, we're going to have some other options and other plans, and we're going to pivot, and we're not going to allow this to derail our emotions, our will, and our tenacity to keep moving forward. And that truly is why I feel that when we say adversity is a gift, is that it does teach you how to go through something and overcome it. See, when we talk about your show Focused on Forward, Tim, man, it's like, okay, I know we had failure, and I know it didn't work out exactly the way we wanted, but we overcame it. And guess what? We're still moving forward, man.
Right.
It may not even be at the same pace we wanted, but that's okay. If I can just say, man, no matter this adversity, I'm still going to make it. Man, that's where it's at, bro.
I agree. I think far too often that as humankind, because of our imperfections and our mental insecurities, the things that we grow up around, far too often we're too willing to sit back and go, okay, this is the problem that's been laid upon me, so I'm gonna pump the brakes here, and I'm gonna hold up, and not being willing to move forward and go through these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like the point of observing the trauma, observing the issue, observing the issues and the problems that are placed in front of us, and viewing them as building opportunities, because I think that's so very key and so very vital. Because when the next one comes, you now have the experience. I know how. I may not have the exact experience, because maybe this is a different issue. Maybe this is a different type of opportunity, shall we say.
Right.
But now I've successfully cleared all these other things. So maybe now I can learn how to successfully clear the next thing in front of me. And I think that's, one of the messages that I always want to send out with my show, Focused on Forward, is that when we talk about being focused on forward, it's not that we ignore that these problems come up.
Right.
It's not that we ignore that life pokes us in the shoulder every now and then and says, hey, we're still here. Oh, and by the way, here's this wonderfully awful gift that we'd like to give you. That's just kind of the way things happen from time to time.
Right.
But when we are focused on forward, it's just that you're not ignoring it, but you are looking over it to see what's good, what's going on past the issue.
Tim, let me tell you this, man. I was thinking about what you were saying, because you being such an excellent podcast host with 2 podcasts, I don't know how I can barely run one. I don't know how you do it too, brother. You just
co-hosts.
Co-host. You are truly a superhero. I know you got Captain America's shield right over your head there. I was thinking about this, man. My dad, and I'm just going to share this, man. My dad beat me unlike any person should be beat. I remember one time that we had a tub, and I was washing my thermal underwear out. All of y'all up north know what thermal underwear is. Mm-hmm. I was washing them out, and he held me down in the tub up under the water. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a man that supposedly is a preacher, that is supposed to love me. And this is the type of abuse and what he's doing to me. I've never done that to my kids. Now, I've not been the father of the year every year and got the trophies hanging up on the wall, but I didn't do that. Right. None of my kids ever got sexually molested or abused. None of them ever were severely malnutritioned or had to worry about the electricity staying on. And so my point to that is, Tim, that some of that adversity taught me what I wasn't going to do. It taught me what I mean, I didn't have a dad much in my life except for those times he was trying to kill me. and a mom very, very little amount of time. I saw her more in institutional settings than I did in home settings. But those experiences taught me when I had my first child, I recognized that, hey man, I know what I'm not going to do to this kid.
Mm-hmm.
I may not have it all figured out as a parent, but I know what this kid is not going to experience. And all 7 of my children, they may say, "Hey, man, Dad was tough because I'm a former Marine." Yeah, I was tough. Yeah, but I didn't do that. I didn't raise them like that, and
Right.
the generational curse stopped with me, bro.
There you go. Well, there's a difference between being strict and being tough and being abusive. There's a
Right.
massive difference there. So let's pivot here a little bit and let's talk about life after coming out of the Marines. So because now after coming out of the Marines, you had talked about how you'd done a little bit of public speaking, and you had a chance to go over to England and do some of those things. So how was it for you after coming out of the Marines? What did you do? What was the next step in your story?
Well, here's what we did. We kind of worked when I got out the Marine Corps. We just kind of wanted to stay in Eastern Carolina. So we started our family, like I said, 6 kids with, $8.03 an hour. And I think my wife was working at Subway. And we just kind of just buckled in and hunkered down and started working and living our life. But as time went on, Tim, I started because my foster mom said, you can use this to change the world. Well, I was just living my life. We were taking care of our family, and we were listening to statistical things happening. This kid did this, or that group did this, or gang violence is on the rise here, and on and on and on. And I said, man, I'm hearing my foster mom's words echo. You can use it to change the world. And I said, I'm not really doing that, even though I'm changing my world with my family and I'm helping them. But I know that God had a broader and a bigger plan for me.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me this big old mouth for a purpose. And so don't you dare agree with that, Jim. And
No,
so
I just see a lot of myself in that sentence. So
yeah. and so I formed a nonprofit back in 2008. And so this is some time in passing, you know what I mean? I'm just kind of living my life. And I said, man, I got to do something more. And so we formed the C.L.King Group Incorporated with me and my best friend, Greg Smith, at a Golden Corral, writing on the back of napkins what we wanted to do. And I said, man, I just want to help people. In particular, my niche, especially early on, was helping young people that have gone through maybe what I've gone through. And when we started, Tim, nobody, I'm being very serious, I'm not exaggerating, nobody could have cared 2 hill of beans about what we was trying to do. You know how it is when you start something,
mm-hmm.
they're just like, who are you? Why should we listen to you? And such. And we,
Right.
just like the podcast, we just continued to say, hey man, we want to help some kids. We want to get involved. We want, I think I have a message that can help them. And it began to take root in the local community. We just started in our local community, going to schools, speaking for free. I listen, folks, I've spoken for a lot of chicken dinners. I mean, a lot. And we just would try to tell young people about making good choices. And we talk to moms and dads about how your kids can be influenced by what you do as a parent. And we talk to teachers and educators about how we need to invest more than just the cerebral relationship that we have with kids. And so it began to just blossom before our eyes. And we began to hold statewide conferences through our nonprofit that drew hundreds and hundreds of people to what we were doing, just because we wanted to help some kids. We got to go to the state capital of North Carolina, speak to all the legislatures about the work that we were doing. And it was just simply saying, we want to help young people realize that no matter the adversity, that's the message, they still can make it. And so to date, Tim, we have reached over 400,000 young people, parents, educators, all throughout the state, all throughout the country, and across the seas. So we've been very, very blessed, but our goal is to reach 1 million kids and students and families. And then from there, 1 million every year. That's how busy we're going to be.
That's excellent. That's an amazing goal, and I got tired just thinking about doing
It's
all
just
that
like,
stuff. Whew. Man, you better get some throat comfort tea for that, because you're gonna be talking a
yeah.
lot.
Well, and the beautiful thing about it is that I feel that like doing this isn't work to me. Even though it's work to edit and all that kind of stuff, being able to share your heart's passion,
Hmm.
if that's your calling, man, it's a different mindset. And so I remember top of the year one year, we got contracted to do a school district, and they had us doing 37 events a week. And I'm just like, y'all really think I'm just what I'm supposed to do? Sleep here? But again, it was like the need is so pressing and so prevalent that God, I feel like, has equipped us for this time period. I feel like this is the time period that we are supposed to be with this message, and so that's why we're doing it, brother.
Okay, so I know you talk clearly about adversity a lot with the young people and everything, but other short of that, what's the other single most pressing question or topic that you cover with young people?
I cover something that we've packaged together. I'm not trying to self promote here, but what I
Have at
find
it. That's why I threw it out on the table.
what I find is that, and even I find this have found this with my own kids, is that kids get stuck. They get stuck in systems. They get stuck in hierarchy. They get stuck in bad home life. They get stuck. And what I said is that I wanted to help young people get in gear,
Hmm.
not just be able to survive. But when I go speak at a school, I want them to know, man, you can make seven figures. So what I feel like the pressing need is to get young people, in particular young people, focused on
I see what you
focused
did there.
on their goals. Like, I talk to young people by the thousands. I'm like, what do you want to do in life? I'm like, well, I want to be an astronaut. Well, how you gonna do that? How you gonna get there? How you gonna get there taking study hall, home economics and a history class? How are you really going to get there? And the young people don't know. I'm not blaming educators. I used to be a former educator, but what I'm saying is that we're not helping them get into the gear so that they can actually achieve that goal. I had to recognize that it was going to take so much intense work to actually put food on my table as a speaker. I had to get in gear. I couldn't just be chasing every peripheral thing in life. I had to get focused. And so
Hmm.
one of the primary thing for us is helping young people get in gear to achieve their goals. And we use a 4-step process where we train them. The training is called Get in Gear. And we train them how to systematically take the things that they already have and begin to move forward. No magic potion. It was exactly what my foster mom did to me. She took the skill set that was already in me and helped me get in gear. So that's the primary thing I see, is that young people are not positioned properly to get their goals accomplished, and so we help them with that.
Excellent. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about you as C.L.King. Yeah. Oh boy, here we go. All right, so you've gotten to this far. We've talked about your ability to overcome the things that you've gone through in life. We've talked about your ability to position yourself to to live a life that you want to live, to do the things that you want to do. But we kind of talked about this briefly in pre-show. But there are things that trigger trauma, and so for me, and I'll preface my question for you with my own personal experience. So, the impetus for me starting this show was, of course, my daughter being in the hospital for so long, and having the emotional trauma that my wife and I went through with her in the hospital. And so we took a lot of photos and things to try to keep family members up to speed as to what was going on. And right now, during the month of April, May, and June, I pretty much ignore my Facebook memories and things like that, because it shows a lot of things that could be considered and are, for me, are triggers, and they trigger an emotional response, because
Right.
this was only a couple years ago. And so and sometimes with those, I tend to tense up a little bit. I freeze up, or it makes my mind kind of go off in other ways.
Right.
So for you, with something that has happened to you many years ago, are there still triggers that, or things that trigger your emotional responses to the things that you've been through in life?
Yes. I'm so glad you asked this question, and I'm going to be someone said, can I be transparent? Well, I would hope we would just be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do something last year, Tim, that it weighed on me, but it needed to happen.
Okay.
And I had to, this is gonna sound crazy, but I had to extract myself from relationships in my family. Not my wife and kids. I'm talking about the family of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, siblings, and such. Why? Because they were the triggers that would send me in a tailspin.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I would talk to my mom, and my mom has struggles. I love my mom. It's Mother's Day. She is the one who brought me into this world. Even though her struggles uh, were real, she still is my mother, and I highly respect her. But I also recognize that my relationship with her was a trigger that would cause me to be in a certain mindset in my own home, negative mindset,
Mm-hmm.
weeks at a time of depression, because anytime I would talk to her, Tim, it was like going back to 1980. It
Sure.
was every conversation is like going back 35 years. And unfortunately, it was the same way with my siblings. Now, I love them. They're people that are trying to make it and carve their way out of life. But I recognized how it was affecting me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would cause me great depression, and I started trying to figure out what it was, and it finally hit me last year after a conversation with them that I realized I got to pull myself out of a relationship with y'all. Now I know the Bible says honor your mother and father that their days may be long, and I feel like I still honor my mother, but I don't think I can have a continued relationship with her, not while she's still dealing with the struggles of 1980.
Right.
I can't have a relationship with my siblings, my older siblings, while they're still struggling with the issues from 1980.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I connect with them, I'm not in 1980, right? I mean, I'm not trying to boast or make myself look greater than them or look down on them or belittle them, but
Sure.
I've lived my life here. I've been in this area for 27 years, Tim. I've been in Eastern Carolina raising my family. So we've had a different pathway, man. It's just been different.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I try to inject myself into a relationship with them, all it does is take me back to 1985 when we was sweeping up cockroaches off the floor, or take me back to 1982 when we was eating in soup kitchens around hairy men looking at you to do weird stuff to you. It was a trigger, Tim, that I realized I cannot have a continual relationship with these people. And I'm putting that out publicly, not to demean them or embarrass them, but just to tell you, I wanted to be transparent about what my trigger is. And I recognized that it was affecting my wife and our relationship. It was affecting my kids. If I have a conversation with my mother, it would affect me for 3 or 4 weeks, brother.
Mm, okay.
It would send me into a dark place. And so I removed myself from that last year. And it has been the most liberating thing, because I just cannot do that. I can't go there. And I've determined that if that's the way this relationship is going to be, even till our sunset hours, brother, and I can keep my sanity, have a great relationship with my wife and kids, then that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. No, I understand that. And I think I appreciate that very well. As in fact, um, one of the things that, one of the struggles I had was with one of my brothers, and I had to extract him from my house and from my life
Mm,
because, I'm very strict about not allowing things to interrupt or derail the peace of my four walls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my wife, my kids, that's the most important thing to me. That home nucleus.
Right, man.
And so I understand that very much. So my older brother and I had some very distinct disagreements about things, and um, I just the emotional stress that came with it, and the baggage that came with it, because like you said, he wanted to live back way back when, and when it was just he and my mom and I living, but just the three of us, and that's all he ever wanted to talk about. And I'm like, no,
Right.
we moved away from that 30 years ago. We're
Right.
good. Let's talk about something different.
Right.
And that wasn't what he wanted to do. But there was other issues there for him
Right.
as well. But and so on the one hand, I feel bad because he is family, he's blood, and I want to help him where I can. But on the other hand, if it affects you, your emotional health, your marriage, your relationship with your children, then you have to make that dividing line, and you have to pull it out and move away. So
I and just let me just add, we, like I said, we've been here for 27 years. My kids they don't have cousins, they don't have aunts, and I mean that like the old days family where your cousins was
mhm,
around the corner and your aunts and uncles was none of that, man. It's just been mom and dad and the kids. And I recognize that like you saying, I love them, and I really wish that we could have that type of relationship. But because of the way it affects me, and because
mhm,
of the way it triggers me, I can't allow myself to become susceptible to that. That's still a weakness for me. That whole relationship is still a problem because I never got to deal with it, man. I mean, you live, then you get taken away, then you get thrown in the system. It never got resolved. And so here,
right.
when I try to have relationship with him, I find that I'm just going in a tailspin. And it was very healthy. It was, and I didn't do it out of spite or anger. I did it to preserve, like you say, the peace in these four walls.
It's an act of self-preservation.
Yes, sir.
So understood completely. All right. Yes, I was curious what your take on that would be, because um, just the way that I see things, and trying to make sure that we maintain again that peace in my own four walls, and when those triggers and those for traumas come up, and so. But okay, so let's talk about impacting life 24/7.
Oh,
So we've gone through all of these other things that the king has done,
yeah.
and I'm gonna keep calling you that just because it's fun.
Maybe we'll make me into a superhero, the king.
The king. That's right. Get a picture of you flexing and everything.
That's right,
All right,
man.
there we go.
That's right, brother. Yes, sir.
uh, you know, but let's talk about how you got into impacting life 24/7. What was the reason for starting your show? Because guys, and I know I failed to mention this at the outset of the show, but so I did say that I was on CL's show, and CL's show is called Impacting Life 24/7. And so he was kind enough to have me on as a guest, and we talked about my story and of what happened with Kendall and her medical experiences and everything else. But so I would like to give you a chance to tell my listeners about your show and how you got to the point of starting a podcast, and why Impacting Life 24/7 was the name you chose.
Well, it's an honor, number one, to have any type of platform, whether it be small, large, whatever. It's an honor to be able to do your heart's passion and see something come of it, even if it impacts only one life. The mission and the motto of our company, the C.L.King Group Incorporated, is impacting one life one day at a time. And I've spoken 400 times across the country, and that's a blessing. It's a wonderful thing, but you do have to wait, and you do have to negotiate to get on other people's platforms. And I talked to our team and I said, Greg, man, why don't we create something where we can elevate other people using our platform instead of waiting around for
Mhm.
folks to call us? Why don't we just create it and make our own? And so we started back in 2019, before the pandemic, before everybody had pivoted to Zoom and StreamYard and everything. And I was in my back closet looking like I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I go back and look at some of those videos, Tim, and I said, "Oh my God, I should take this stuff down." But the first 30 episodes was me. And I don't have no problem every night coming on and talking about something new. But I said, no, that's not, I'm tired of hearing myself. And I don't think that's what the genre is supposed to be. The genre isn't supposed to be Chris King. It's supposed to be about us garnering and bringing in people who have a similar story, like not necessarily like mine, but a story of impact, a story that, man, that resonates with someone that will be listening. So we changed the format and we began to have guests on. Nobody was listening to our show, Tim. When I looked at the analytics, I was just like, okay, I guess we really are just bombing. And 50 shows in, 60 shows in, I decided to switch. No, it was 40 shows in. I decided to switch from messy.fm to Podbean, because messy.fm just didn't have the right ring for what we was doing. Listen to C.L.King on messy.fm. I was just like, this is not working, because not everything's free is good, So
Right.
we went to Podbean and we got serious about, okay, we're going to do this right. So I had my friend Wally. He's the guy responsible for our music and equipment. I said, man, help me get us where we need to be. He helped me get my soundboard and lighting and all the stuff that we needed. And we said, if we're going to do this, we're going to give a good effort and do it right.
Right.
And so as we began to focus and bring people on with stories and life-changing stories, man, and stories of impact, we began to see, folks were actually taking note of it. And so now here we are in 2022. And we've done a couple hundred shows. We're on Monday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night. And our latest analytics, which we pull every week, shows our show downloaded in 33 states and 13 countries on 17 different platforms. And
Excellent.
It's just because we've just tried to be consistent about having people on that can impact life 24/7. What that means is every day, man, just one day at a time, having an impact in someone's life. We've had people like Tim Bicycle.
There you got it.
There we go, Bicycle. We've had people like Tim that have a story that is so capturing, because listen, when you are looking at your baby lying in a hospital bed, there's nothing more grievous to a parent than that.
Right.
And I know someone was listening to that show that may have been going through that, and it's like, wow, Tim saw the other side, and their families being nurtured again. And so that's what our show was about. It's 100% about that. I will say this, that I don't really have a lot of time for people trying to sell Tupperware or, all that kind of stuff, vacuum cleaners. I
Right.
mean, I got 60,000 life coaches that want to be on and tell you how to do backflips. That's all cool. And that may have a place, but truthfully, I just want, it doesn't have to be Oprah. I just want ordinary people that have seen maybe something extraordinary happen in their life, because I know that the next person that's listening could be impacted. I'll close with this. I had a lady on just the other day. I don't know if she was on your show, but she got involved in drugs and went down a very, very dark place. So dark that she wound up killing a lady by accident and was facing 40 years in prison, man. Ooh. 40 years. And somehow the district attorney saw her history and all the things that she went through, and they gave her 5 years, and she wound up getting out in 2.5. And she said, okay, I'm going to take my life now and I'm going to use it to touch other people. But her story about how drugs were so alluring and so it was like so dominating. She grew up as a beauty pageant queen in theater, and she had a perfect life and everything was great until that one choice, Tim, that one time she was going to a Dallas Cowboys game and somebody introduced her to a line of Coke. One choice changed her entire life, brother. One choice.
Yes.
And man, I said, man, if people can hear that, if there's someone out there that's thinking about trying that line one time, they need to listen to this lady. And so that's what Impacting Life is about, man. Impacting Life 24/7. I look, I'm wearing the gear. For those of y'all that can't see, I got gear, but guess who made my gear? See, I don't just take all the credit. I got to give the shout outs to my homeboy, Tim Bicycle. We started off, let me just take over your show for a minute. We started off on a very, very rocky relationship because of me, dumb Marine, misinterpreting typing. And I thought Tim was going left and he was going right. And I was out in left field. That's what happened. And we was fighting and arguing on texting. And then I realized, oh man, I'm totally wrong. And so I begged Tim for forgiveness, because you should do that when you know you're wrong. And now Tim and I are like brothers from another mother. And Tim helped us with all of our merchandise and all of our gear. And man, I just love Tim, man. He's like really like a brother. And so I'm thankful that you have helped us go to even the next level on Impacting Life 24/7. And I'm forever indebted to you for it, brother.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. But I'd also like to point out I was just as big a jerk as you were, so that it was fair. I'm not even going to try and pretend or hide it. I wasn't very nice either. So,
well, that's that Michigan, Ohio thing. You know what I mean?
There's a rivalry. We don't even mention the state to the south, not by name.
But and this is, I think, let's look at 21st century, brother. People can't have disagreements anymore where it can get resolved and not be an end all. Mm-hmm. We had a benign disagreement about something that had nothing to do with really me. We were just miscommunicating, right, and misinterpreting one another, right? But then after we got it worked out, man, me and you are bosom buddies, man. We're business partners now. But in today's society, people are so polarized that you can't have a disagreement and get through it without saying, I'm going to block this person, or I'm going to unfriend them, or I'm not going to talk to them. No, I'm going to, man, listen, sometimes disagreements come and you have to be mature enough to work through them, man. You're not always right. You understand? I'm talking to the audience out there. You're not always right. And sometimes you have to eat humble pie. And I'm thankful that Tim received me back into his family and friendship, and we're going forward together.
There you go. I put a little whipped cream on top of the humble pie. We ate it together. It was good stuff.
Well, I had to eat the crow, bro.
We both did. It's all right. So, yeah, one of the things I've really appreciated about you, CL, is that you are an incredibly humble person for the successes that I've seen that you've had. And I'm more drawn to humble people anyway, because they're just good people to be with and learn from, and so I'm thankful that you allow me in your space as well, and I'm thankful that I had an opportunity to come on your show and talk and be welcomed in that way, and that's really why I wanted to have you on here today, is because I want people to see that from your story and from the name of your show that it's just we take this one day at a time and we impact our lives. Even if it's not with somebody else's story, we impact our own lives one day at a time by the decisions and the choices that we make. And if we choose to impact our life by moving forward, by focusing on forward, we can have a good life. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to be millionaires. That doesn't mean we're going to be rock stars or sports stars or all these other things. But there are so many levels of happiness between being dirt poor and being a millionaire.
Right.
That I think sometimes people, like you said, they don't know how to get it in gear and just be happy with where they're at in life. So I think that's also a nice thing that I picked up from your show as well, as being happy with where you're at and what you have, and instead of looking at the other side of the fence, kind of peeking over like, oh, their grass is a little greener.
Yes,
Yes, sir. So, and I think that's a very important lesson for us all to have. So we have just a couple minutes left here. So we've talked about your show. Tell folks where they can find Impacting Life, where they can find out more about you, all your social handles, so they can come and track you down and be good friends with you too.
I would love to get some friends from in the circle of Steve. I mean Tim, because anybody that's friends with Tim is going to be friends with me. So I try to keep it simple, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to C.L.Kingspeaker.com. That's our website. You can connect there to our podcast and all of the opportunities. If you need a keynote speaker, all of the ways to participate with us is there. Of course, if you just type in C.L. King on any Facebook, social media, Twitter, any of that, it's on there. But more importantly, what I'm not looking for, followers. I'm looking for fellowship and friends. And what I have come to the conclusion is that COVID-19 has taught us a lot of stuff, and it's revealed a lot of stuff. But one thing that it's taught me is that the value of my friendships and partnerships. And so, Tim and I talk, we don't talk every day, but when we talk, it's like we just talked a few minutes ago.
Right.
And so if you want to connect with me, that's the way the connection will be. I'm a little more sappy probably than Tim is. He's just like, cut to the chase. Let's get it. Come on, let's go, move it. And I'm just like, hey man, I love you, brother. Give me a hug. And so, but and that's cool, man. CLKingspeaker.com. I believe we should just build relationships together, man. And Steve, you're going to be back on my show, and we're just going to continue this partnership. So if you'd like to connect with us, CLKingspeaker.com or just CL King on Facebook. We appreciate it.
All right. Excellent. All right, guys. So, of course, next week we'll have another guest, but I encourage you very strongly, go check out CL's website, check out his podcast. I'm a subscriber. I love his show. I check him out on Facebook a couple times a week, and he's got some really cool guests come on. In fact, I've poached a couple of his guests after he got done talking to them because I'm like, ooh, I want to talk to them too.
And that's the way it's supposed to be done.
Exactly.
Man.
That's right. So, but yeah, so go over and check out Impacting Life 24/7. I guarantee if you like this show, you're going to love that show. It's good stuff over there. And so just want to remind you, next week we'll be talking with Kate Wallinga. And so come back next week at 8:00 Eastern, Friday evening. That will be the 14th. Yeah. So May 14th, 8 p.m. We'll be right back here on all the socials, and you'll have an opportunity to hear a nice interview and a chat with Kate Wallinga, who's also a podcast host, and we'll have a good chat with her. So CL, again, thank you for coming on the show. Really do appreciate it, man.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. I think that's going to conclude us tonight for Focused on Forward.
Well, that concludes another episode of Focused on Forward. To be a guest of Focused on Forward, you can reach us through Twitter at podcastFOF, through our Facebook page named Focused on Forward, or through email focusedonforward@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing each and every one of your stories that has yet to be told. So until then, be safe, be kind, and be loving to one another as you stay focused on forward.